Gun politics in Switzerland are unique in Europe. The vast majority of men between the ages of 20 and 30 are conscripted into the militia and undergo military training, including weapons training. The personal weapons of the militia are kept at home as part of the military obligations. However, it is generally not permitted to keep army-issued ammunition, but compatible ammunition purchased for privately owned guns is permitted. At the end of military service period, the previously used gun can be converted to a privately owned gun after a weapon acquisition permit has been granted. Switzerland thus has a relatively high gun ownership rates. In recent times, a minority of political opposition has expressed a desire for tighter gun regulations. A referendum in February 2011 rejected stricter gun control. Number of guns in circulation. In some 2001 statistics, it is noted that there are about 420,000 assault rifles stored at private homes, mostly SIG 550 models. Additionally, there are some 320,000 semi-auto rifles and military pistols exempted from military service in private possession, all selective fire weapons having been converted to semi-automatic operation only. In addition, there are several 100,000 other semi-automatic small arms classified as carbines. The total number of firearms in private homes is estimated minimally at 1.2 million to 3 million. In 2005, over 10% of households contained handguns, compared to 18% of U.S. households that contained handguns. In 2005, almost 29% of households in Switzerland contained firearms of some kind, compared to almost 43% in the U.S. According to current estimations of guns per 100 residents is about 25, which is, for example, lower than Germany, France, or Austria. Regulation. Switzerland's Weapons Law and Weapons Act has been revised to accede to the Schengen Treaty effective December 12, 2008. The law is applied to the following weapons: firearms, such as pistols, revolvers, rifles, pump guns, lever-action rifles, self-loading guns, air and CO2 guns with muzzle energy of at least 7.5 joules, or if there is risk of confusion with a firearm. Imitation, alarm gun and soft air guns when there is risk of confusion with a firearm. Butterfly knives, throwing knives, knife-handed operation with automatic mechanism with total length greater than 12 cm and blade length greater than 5 cm. Daggers with symmetrical blade is less than 30 cm. Devices that are intended to hurt people like rod, throwing star, brass knuckles, slings with armrest. All electric shock devices and spray products with irritants in Annex II Weapons Regulation, except for pepper spray. Generally prohibited arms are automatic firearms such as machine guns, etc. Automatic knife when the blade more than 5 cm and total length of more than 12 cm, butterfly knife when the blade more than 5 cm and total length of more than 12 cm, throwing knives. Regardless of the shape and size, symmetrical daggers when blade length less than 30 cm, brass knuckles, shock rods, throwing stars, skidding with armrest, stun guns, weapons that imitate an object of utility as shooting phones, etc. Acquisition. Buying guns. In order to purchase most weapons, the purchaser must obtain a weapon acquisition permit. Swiss citizens over the age of 18 who are not psychiatrically disqualified nor identified as posing security problems, and who have a clean criminal record can request such a permit. Foreigners with the following citizenship are explicitly excluded from the right to possess weapons: Serbia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Kosovo, Macedonia, Turkey, Sri Lanka, Algeria and Albania. The following information must be provided to the Cantonal Weapon Bureau together with the weapon application form: valid official identification or passport copy, residence address, criminal record copy not older than 3 months, for each transfer of a weapon or an essential weapon component without weapons acquisition permit, a written contract must be concluded. Each party shall keep them at least 10 years. The contract must include the following information: family name, first name, birth date, residence address and signature of the person who sells the weapon or essential weapon component, family name, first name, birth date, residence address and signature of the person who purchases the weapon or an essential weapon component, kind of weapon, manufacturer or producer, label, caliber, weapon number, and date and place of transfer. Type and number of official identification of the person who acquires the weapon or the essential weapon component, and an indication of the processing of personal data in connection with the contract in accordance with the privacy policy of the Federation or the cantons, if firearms are transmitted. This information must be sent within 30 days to the Cantonal Weapon Registration Bureau, where the weapon holders are registered. Some weapons do not need a weapon acquisition permit. Single-shot and multi-barreled hunting rifles and replicas of single-shot muzzle, by the Federal Council designated hand bolt-action rifles, which are commonly used in off-duty and sporting gunnery recognized by the military law of February 3, 1952 and shooting clubs for hunting purposes in Switzerland, single-shot rabbit slayer. Compressed air and CO2 weapons that develop a muzzle energy of at least 7.5 joules, or may be confused because of their appearance with real firearms. Buying ammunition. In order to purchase ammunition, the buyer must follow the same legal rules like for buying guns. The buyer can only buy munition for guns he/she is legally owning and must provide the following information to the seller: valid official identification or passport, Serbia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Kosovo, Macedonia, Turkey, Sri Lanka, Algeria and Albania, residence address, criminal record copy not older than 3 months, weapon acquisition permit not older than 2 years, or a weapon carrying permit not older than 5 years. This also applies for weapons which do not require a weapon acquisition permit. This information must be sent within 30 days to the Cantonal Weapon Registration Bureau, where the weapon holder is registered. The same applies to black powder and modern black powder substitutes for use in firing historical rifles. The possession of the following munition is generally prohibited: ammunition with armor-piercing bullets, ammunition with projectiles containing an explosive or incendiary device, ammunition with one or more flaws to the release of substances which damage the health of people in the long run, ammunition, missiles and missile launchers for military explosive, ammunition with projectiles for transmitting electric shocks, ammunition for handguns with deformation effect. Carrying guns to carry a loaded firearm in public or outdoors, a person must have a Waffentragbewegung G, which in most cases is issued only to private citizens working in occupations such as security. It is, however, quite common to see a person serving military service to be en route with his rifle, albeit unloaded. Conditions for getting a carrying permit. There are 3 conditions: fulfilling the conditions for buying a permit, stating plausibly the need to carry firearms to protect oneself, other people, or real property from a specified danger, passing an examination proving both weapon handling skills and knowledge regarding lawful use of the weapon. The carrying permit remains valid for a term of 5 years, and applies only to the type of firearm for which the permit was issued. Additional constraints may be invoked to modify any specific permit. Neither hunters nor game wardens require a carrying permit. Transporting guns. Guns may be transported in public as long as an appropriate justification is present. This means to transport a gun in public, the following requirements apply: the ammunition must be separated from the gun, no ammunition in a magazine. The transport needs to be as direct as possible and needs a valid purpose, for courses or exercises hosted by marksmanship, hunting or military organizations, to an army warehouse and back, to show the gun to a friend or a possible buyer, to and from a holder of a valid arms trade permit, to and from a specific event, for example gun shows. Army-issued arms and ammunition collection. The Swiss Army has long been a militia trained and structured to rapidly respond against foreign aggression. Swiss males grow up expecting to undergo basic military training, usually at age 20 in the recruit school, the basic training camp, after which Swiss men remain part of the militia in reserve capacity until age 30. In October 2007, the Swiss Federal Council decided that the distribution of ammunition to soldiers would stop and that previously issued ammo would be returned. By March 2011, more than 99% of the ammo has been received. only special rapid deployment units and the military police still store government-issued ammunition at home today. When their period of service has ended, militiamen have the choice of keeping their personal weapon and other selected items of their equipment. However, keeping the weapon after end of service requires a weapon acquisition permit. The government sponsors training with rifles and shooting in competitions for interested adolescents, both male and female. The sale of ammunition €1 including GW Pat 90 rounds for Army-issue assault rifles €1 is subsidized by the Swiss government and made available at the many Federal Council licensed shooting ranges. That ammunition sold at ranges must be immediately used there under supervision. The Swiss Army maintains tightened adherence to high standards of lawful military conduct. In 2005, for example, when the Swiss prosecuted recruits who had reenacted the torture scenes of Abu Ghraib, one of the charges was improper use of service weapons. Storage of military-issued ammunition. Prior to 2007, members of the Swiss militia were supplied with 50 rounds of ammunition for their military weapon in a sealed ammo box that was regularly audited by the government. This was so that, in the case of an emergency, the militia could respond quickly. However, since 2007 this practice has been discontinued. Only 2,000 specialist militia members are permitted to keep their military-issued ammunition at home. The rest of the militia get their ammunition from their military armory in the event of an emergency. Recreational shooting. Recreational shooting is widespread in Switzerland. Practice with guns is a popular form of recreation, and is encouraged by the government, particularly for the members of the militia. Prior to the millennia, about 200,000 people used to attend the annual Feldschießen, which is the largest rifle shooting competition in the world. In 2012 they counted 130,000 participants. For the 2015 federal shooting 37,000 shooters are registered. In addition, there are several private shooting ranges which rent guns. Gun crime. In 2014 there were 173 attempted and completed homicides, of which 18 involved firearms. 41 of them were completed, therefore Switzerland had a murder rate of 0.49 per 100,000 population, the lowest raw figure and lowest rate for 33 years, since the start of the nationwide coordinated collection of statistical data, despite a strong growth of inhabitants over the same period. See also, number of guns per capita by country, gun crime, gun politics, Schweizerische One-Quarter-Zenverein, Swiss Army. References. External links, Ordonnance für Copyright der Copyright-Rail sur les armes, les accessoires der unregistered trademark armée les munitions Swiss Federal Application Law on Weapons, Weapon Accessories and Ammunition. Swiss Portal for Hunting and Fishing, Protel website, Firearms Training Company with Swiss Protel membership, bearing arms in Switzerland. A well-organized pro-army and pro-gun rights association in southern Switzerland.